It is very important that you understand this learning objective. There will be many discussions throughout this course, mostly about product, but also period cost. Do you notice a recurring word in each sentence? In order for managers to plan, direct, and control operations effectively, they need information. One very important type of information relates to cost. A manager must know how much it costs to manufacture its products. Manufacturing consists of activities and processes that convert raw materials into finished goods, whereas a merchandising company sells products in the form in which they are purchased. Manufacturing costs incurred to produce a product are classified as direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. It is very important that we include all the costs that are incurred when manufacturing a product. Manufacturers purchase raw materials, which are the basic materials and parts used in the manufacturing process. Raw materials that can be physically and directly associated with the finished product are direct materials. Examples include a radio installed in an automobile, flour in the baking of bread, and syrup in the bottling of a soft drink. Some raw materials cannot be easily associated with the finished product. These are called indirect materials. Indirect materials have one of two characteristics. They do not physically become part of the finished product. An example would be oil or lubricants for the machines, cleaning supplies, or disposable safety equipment like gloves. Or they are impractical to trace to the finished product because they are too small in terms of cost. An example would be glue, the cost of glue when assembling an Ethan Allen table. Companies account for indirect materials as part of manufacturing overhead. The work of factory employees that can be physically and directly associated with converting raw materials into finished goods is direct labor. Direct labor is sometimes called touch labor because the workers typically touch the products while it's being made. Examples of direct labor include the wages paid to assembly line workers at Toyota, carpenters for a home builder like KB Homes, and bottlers at a Coca-Cola plant. Indirect labor refers to the work of employees that has no physical association with the finished product or for which it's impractical to trace the cost of the goods produced. Examples include the labor cost of janitors, supervisors, security, and maintenance. Like indirect materials, companies classify indirect labor as manufacturing overhead. Although the efforts of these employees are essential, it would be either impractical or impossible to accurately trace their cost to the specific unit of product. As a result, these labor costs are treated as indirect labor. Manufacturing overhead consists of costs that are indirectly associated with the manufacturing of the product. Overhead costs include those manufacturing costs that cannot be classified as direct materials or direct labor. I like to think of this category as all the costs associated with operating the factory, such as indirect materials, indirect labor, depreciation on our factory building and machines, insurance, taxes, and maintenance on our facilities. Each of the manufacturing cost components, direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead, are product costs. As the term suggests, product costs are costs that are a necessary and integral part of producing the product. When companies incur product costs, the costs are accumulated in an inventory account. These costs do not become expenses until the company sells the product. At that point, the company records the expense as cost of goods sold and reduces the inventory account. Period costs are costs that are matched with revenue of a specific time period. They are expensed when incurred. Period costs are your non-manufacturing costs. Period costs include selling and administrative expenses. In order to determine net income, companies deduct these costs from revenue in the period in which they are incurred. This slide does a great job of summarizing both product and period costs. Each of the manufacturing cost components, direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead, are product cost, whereas period costs are non-manufacturing costs, such as selling and administrative expenses. For this problem, enter each cost item under the appropriate headings. Total the dollar amounts in each of the columns, and calculate the cost to produce one helmet. This is very similar to your first homework problem. As I stated previously, we will revisit these cost concepts throughout the semester, so it's so important that you understand these classifications. As a result, I provided you with another opportunity to practice these concepts.